All right, last we left off, this is where you have your stuff. Right, so zipped in, bloop. It says your name or whatever there. Okay, not whatever, but it should say your name. All right, now another thing we can do is, let's say we want to change the color of this box here. We want to do it just in a fun way, so it's not just grabbing that animation part right here and then finding where that box is right there. Box, there it is. And then going up here to the color and changing it. Like we wanted to actually add maybe something just like a different color inside that area. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a inside the letter animation. We're going to add a bubbling effect to this. Okay, so this is all the animation stuff. That works perfect. Okay, good. Then I'm going to add a little bubble to this. So the way I do this is I create a new solid. And yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it like that. And what I want to do is, let me scoot this down to where the box is so we can see it. This is going to be the new color of it. So just so it's a little bit more like different, I guess. We'll just make this like green. Cool. We can change that later. It's not locked in. It's just, you know, set up right now. So what I want to do is I'm going to click the pen tool. Now, before we would use the pen tool to create shapes, what we can also use it for is to create a mask. So if I were just to click some boxes here, you'll see how I've basically just like made a mask of that green layer. Okay, so what I can do is, just so you can see this a little better, I'm going to pull this up here. If I take that green layer and I move it like so, under my effect, under distort, there's a whole bunch of distortion things inside here. So one of them is wave warp. There it is. And you can see what wave warp does is it gives you this neat little like warpy wave type thing. And you can play with the height of this, like we'll make that 5 so it's not as much. I can change the width of these, so the smaller I'll get more waves. I can change the direction of this. Okay, just to control that. And there's also a wave speed, so when I hit play, you'll see that the waves are actually moving. Okay, so it's kind of neat how that works, and the faster this is, the more it's going to go. If I pin this, in this case we're not really going to see a whole lot, like center does a little bit there. It's more for if you have like a big, not a mask on here basically. And then we could also adjust the phase, which is controlling that as well. Okay, this is basically like an addition on top of the wave speed. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to animate this thing kind of growing and being wavy. So I'm going to go to here and open up mask. So you see once I created a mask on here, I get mask. So I can open that up. And I can open up mask 1 because there's only one mask on there. And I'm just going to go until I want this to actually be there. So after the Zohan part comes in like that, or just before it actually, so like as it's coming out, I'm going to have this thing kind of filling up. So I'm going to pull this down, and I want this to actually be like below, so I'm just grabbing my whole mask, still in the pen tool, or I'm not in the pen tool anymore, I'm in the arrow tool, just so I can move these points. I'm going to switch to the pen tool though, because I do want to add maybe just another point or 2 in the middle. Okay. There we go. So now I have just a bit more control over the points here. So I'm going to set a keyframe on my mask path. I'm going to go up, I'm at about 2 seconds here, so I'm going to go up to about 3 seconds-ish. I don't want this to take forever. And then I can move it up. Now, if I'm in my pen tool, sometimes it'll grab the whole thing, so I just want to use the arrow. Sometimes you have to click off and then click back on the points and then grab it. So I'm just going to grab all the points and just pull all the points straight up. Okay, not all the points, just the top points. Okay, so it actually is going past the lettering here. So now if we look at this, this is what we get. Okay, and then just to add a little bit of variety to this, I'm just going to come into the middle and maybe just pull some of these points down like this. and then go up a little bit further, and then maybe pull these points up some. There we go. Okay, so what it does is it just gives us the appearance that maybe this is kind of like filling up a little bit more organically than just like transitioning up. That's cool there. Okay, so it was cool. Awesome. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to take this green color and have it being cut out by this box. So there's a couple ways we can do this. Obviously up here what we've done is we've duplicated the layer. So I would just say duplicate this box again, drop it above here, and then go back to our switches and modes and set my track mat to be an alpha. Okay, and so what's going to happen now is there's nothing there, but then as it fills up, it fills up inside the box. So obviously that works too. But again, I don't like to have too many of the same layer like duplicated over and over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn that off. I deleted the old box layer. And I'm going to go to Effect. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to go to Channel. I'm going to say Set Mat. And so what this is going to let me do, it's going to allow me to pick which layer is going to be the mat. Okay, so I get a list here of all the layers in my comp. So I'm going to say box, and you'll see now as I choose box that it actually is using the box's layer. Okay, and it works perfectly. That way I don't have an extra copy of the box layer up here, which obviously just makes it take more time. Also, as I come in right here, that's where I want my text to start. I want to cut this, right? So I Alt left bracket it to cut it, so I'm not wasting any of my time. Cool. So now I can just go back to this lime green, go back to my solid, go back here, and then pick the actual color that I would want. So something like that makes it a little bit more poppy, right? And if I go back to here, there's that. Okay. Now maybe I'll adjust maybe the colors on the rest of this just to make everything kind of tie in together a little bit better. That looks neat there. I'll go to my gradient. I'm going to hit T for my opacity. I think I just want to add a little bit more contrast to this. So I'm going to pull this up to a bit darker like that. But then just go into maybe my value here. Just make that a little bit brighter there. Make that one a little bit brighter too. I'm just pulling these points just to kind of arrange where this the dark spots are. There we go. That's cool. Okay. So now this is a title that we could use in lots of our projects. I could say boop, Zohan, bam. Okay. This is also kind of boring too with this liquid. There's something else we should add to this really. I'm going to make a new composition, 540 by 540, because this is going to be a little blip. And I'm going to go to my circle ellipse tool and just double click. And let's get rid of the stroke on this one. So, stroke, nothing for right now. Come on, hit OK. There we go. And I'm just going to scale this down. So let's say 0. I set a keyframe. I go up to, let's say, 10 frames. It's at 90. I didn't need to go to 100. I think 100 might have been too much. Okay. And now we get this animation of it just kind of scaling up. Then I'm going to go to my ease, go to my graph. And I'm going to kind of push that in the middle. Let's just see what that looks like, right? That's good. Okay. So now we have really slow at the beginning and slow at the end, but fast right in the middle. Okay. And that's the part that I really want. Bloop. Okay, it would be like a little bubble, right? Bloop, bloop. Duplicate it. offset it. And then this is where we're going to use our track matte again, okay, the inverted one. Okay, just like we did before. That's no different than the one we did before. I'm just going to change the stroke on this now to maybe 2 pixels on the track matted one. Alright, so now it goes away. So now we have this. So I'm going to go back to my project. I'm going to right click on my comp, rename this, and call this bubble. And back in my letter animation, I'm going to drag my bubble into here. And as the water is rising right here, that's where I want my bubble to exist. So again, my bubble layer is huge. I don't need it to be that big. So let's go back to bubble. It ends right there. So we Alt, grab everything, Alt right bracket. We do an N to get to the end of our work area, composition trim. And now when we come back here, this is exactly the length of our bubble. Okay, so we'll go to where the bubbles need to be, right there. Okay, we'll bring our bubble into the position. I'm going to scale it down to maybe 10%. There it is. Okay, and now it's just a matter of taking this and kind of lining it up. There we go. Now, just give this a little bit more of an organic feel. If I duplicate this and just maybe scale down some around it. So I can make like smaller versions of this and a little bit of offset. And what it's going to do is it's going to give it the appearance that we have kind of like these little bubbles on the bubbles. So if we just watch this real quick. You get that cool little bloopy effect. And then I can take this whole setup and duplicate it. When you duplicate layers like this, it's weird because it stacks them like that. So I would just move it up so that they're all by themselves. Then I'll just scoot them down. Figure out where the water level's at, right about here. And then I can just move all of these over. Oops, I gotta move them back first. There we go. And move them like over here. And then I probably want to fit 3 in there. So maybe I'll duplicate this again, scoot it down to the bottom here. Pull that back. Pull it in right here. Yeah, these end ones seem like they should be maybe a little bit sooner. Okay, and then I could obviously kind of move these around a little bit so they're not all in the same spot. So give this a little bit more organicness. Okay. And then the blue that's here and the orange that's there, that actually looks kind of neat. But again, we can go through, no big deal. Just go to our shape layer on the bottom here and we can pick a different color if we wanted to. I think just for fun, I'm just going to make this maybe a darker blue. And I think I'm also going to pull this back one, oh, maybe not. They pull back 1 frame, but 1 frame is just too much. Maybe I take the stroke up on this. There we go. Just didn't like it as thick as it was getting. There we go. Let's just see what that looks like. Boop. Boop. And there is a chance that maybe these bubbles are maybe happening too quick. So again, this isn't a big deal. It's just a matter of going back to this bubble and retiming it. So if I go back to my comp settings in here, I cut it so it's like too short now. I'm going to make this maybe 16 frames. I think just those 4 extra frames will help. I need to then resize my layers. Okay, so as both selected, I can just drag them over. If I hit U, I can then drag my keyframes over. And then if I go back to my letter animation, they should have automatically resized, which it looks like they did. Maybe they didn't. Oops. Bubble. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it did resize. I think the animation just might have got. Yep, it's just that stroke on that top one, just too much now. And I think I want to maybe even just adjust the speed graph a little bit more. I think it's just happening too quick right in the middle. There we go. And then no big deal, I can just duplicate or delete the top layer, reduplicate it, re-scoot it down, and then just re-add a stroke onto it. Okay, then I just have to retell it that it's a track matte, make sure that the top layer is turned off. There we go. That feels better. Yep, that definitely feels better. Okay, so don't be afraid to go back and edit your stuff. It doesn't hurt to do that kind of thing. All right, so now if we look, something happened to our Zohan. Oh, I put the bubble or the shape layer for this one. It needs to come back down. There we go. Okay, so I put my bubbles between the alpha matte and the Zohan layer, so that obviously can't happen. Cool. All right, so now if we look at our final sequence, there's our final sequence. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to move this up a little bit here. There we go. So I have other stuff that I want to put in there. Actually, it's going to look weird if I just move it up, right? Like, why is it coming up there? Yeah, so having it up there at the start looks kind of weird. So I think what I want to do is just start it off where it was, like here. And then after this is filled up, then I can just kind of move it up, bring a bar in, and then put the name of the assignment in there. That might be a neat way to do it. Okay, so let's put this here, there. Just make sure it's kind of centered before I get started any further. You can turn on, over here there's a grid, and there's rulers, so you can turn on rulers, and I know that my composition is 960, so if I set this up to about 480, which is about there, I set this up to about 540's half, it's like 270, that should be about there. Okay, that's pretty close to being centered. All right, cool. So I'm gonna grab my letter animation, I'm gonna hit P, make my work area bigger. Right after this area fills up, then I want to set a position keyframe, move up a little bit, and then scoot this up. And then do my easy ease, faster at the front. Okay, just preview that. Yep, that's good. Here a little bit quicker. I'll just put those together. There we go. All right. Cool. Then I can have just a stroke come across. So if I go to my pen tool, make sure everything's clicked off, click a point, hold shift, click another point, and then I can shrink my stroke. Yep, that's cool. Alright, so I just need this to then animate out. So I could do this a couple ways. I could take my pivot point, move it over here, and then I could just animate the, check my link off, just animate the scale going across. Probably going to be the most straightforward way to do it without adding anything else. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to set my scale keyframe. I'm going to come up a little bit and then push it across. Okay. Now I want to make sure it doesn't cut into it. All right. So I still want this to be easy eased. Looks too slow. Let's go the other way. Alright, so that's good. I just need to scoot this over. So I'm going to switch back to my arrow tool, scoot those over a couple frames just so it doesn't intersect it. Yep, that's good. Yep, cool. I don't need this layer on before that, so I'm just going to click on that, Alt left bracket it. Okay, and then I want my assignment name to come straight down. Okay, I also don't want the Zohan to maybe go up that high, so let's go back here. Just pull that down to about there. There we go. So now underneath this, that's where I want my title assignment name to come in. I'm going to switch to my title. I'm going to click my text, and I'll call this assignment 01. And let's see how we can lay this out. So assignment 01. And then maybe we duplicate it and call this page transitions. All right, so that looks cool. Maybe like small caps. Yep, that's cool too. Okay, and the fonts match. We don't have any like crazy kinds of fonts on here. Yep, cool. Looks clean, looks nice. You know, test things out. What does bold look like? Maybe it's a little bit too boldy. There we go. Okay, so that's good. All right, so I'm just going to take both of these, and after this comes out, that bar could still use maybe just a tick more over to the right. Just I don't want it to hit the Zohan too much. There we go. Okay. So after the bar comes across, then we can grab these two, and we're going to animate their position. So this is where I want them to end up. So I'm going to Alt left bracket to say this is where they're going to start. I'm going to go above where I want this to end anyway, right there, and set my position keyframe. Then I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to animate these up here. Okay. So now I've animated it backwards so that it should just come down. Then we do our easy ease. And because I have two of these, you can see that there's two graphs here that I have to animate. Now let's take a look. Okay, so that's them coming down. All right, now in order to get them to obviously come down and not look stupid like that, we have to do those little track mat things. So I'm just going to draw a big box. Right there. Now this is, let me turn that stroke off, we don't need that. Cool. So I want it to look like it's coming out like from underneath this orange tag. So this is where the set mat thing that we used before, this is where it doesn't work. Okay, so if I go to my assignment 1, I go to my set mat, and I say use that box. Okay, it's technically visible, but the box is in the way. Okay, but when I turn the box off, then it goes away. So this is where we can't use that set mat. This is where I have to use an individual one for each one. So I grab the shape layer, I set the track mat for this one to the inverted. So now it's going to look like it's coming right out of that orange bar. Okay, so I'll just duplicate the shape. And I will move it. Let me turn it back on so I can see it. Every time you do a track mat, it hides that layer because it knows that you're just using it as a track mat. And I'll do the track mat for this. Okay. Cool. And the same thing with these two layers. I can alt left bracket them because I don't need them until the text is actually coming down. Okay, I can offset this too. Like I can take my page transitions, just scoot it down a couple frames. That way it goes maybe even a bit more. And that might be neat there. Cool. So now this right there about is the end of this. So now if I hit play, all right, so this is our title bumper. So this is something we could throw onto any one of our assignments and just change the names of these things here, and then it'll work. Now obviously I don't want to say Zohan because that was just my for fun. Let's see how we can change it. So I'm just going to jump back to my text stuff. Come on. Sohan. There we go. You can see how everything just updates. Okay. So now this is all done. I'm going to make sure everything's nice and organized here. Streak. Make a couple folders. I like to really organize this into like blips, which are things like the boom. Do you remember what the boom one was? It's that. Okay. The bubble, which is this one. The streak, which is that one. And then my other comps perfect. Okay, so now everything's nice and organized. On my final one, I'm gonna make sure it says Sarcona title sequence. This is my final animation. This is what I would drop into other pieces. Okay, so then once I have my title here, I'm gonna go and open up my title sequence. or my page transition. Okay, so there's my final page transition is number 3. Remember all these? Gorgeous. Okay, I want to drop this, and so I have a page transition of just or a title before all of these. So I'm going to go to File, Import, and import a file. And I just go to my desktop anyway. P drive 2200 title bumper title. Okay, so now it imports my titles in here, and it should keep all my organization still nice and neat, which is why you want to make sure you're staying organized in all your stuff, because you have to eventually sometimes import things. Okay, so then here's my title. So I can just drag this out so it's separated. There we go. All right, so now if I go to my comps, here's my title. And what I want to do is just add this into this animation. Okay, now here's all of my pieces just on top of each other, right? So I'm going to go to my comps. I'm going to go to my final comp. Okay, this is the final comp. And I'm just going to grab my title sequence, hold down Control, go to the final comp, drag these to a new comp. Single, yes, it's fine. All right, so I'm going to scoot my final comp over and make sure that the title is on the bottom. I'm just going to play this until we get to, scoot that over more, page transitions. Okay, so we get to about here. And now what I'm going to do is then start this. So now what should happen is my page transitions go right into it. Okay, now once that first page transition happens, this here, then I want to take this one and just Alt right bracket it just to get rid of it. Okay, so let's go to our composition settings now and make this longer, like 18 seconds. Should be plenty of time, and we can crop it from there. Yep, so right about here is the end of this. So I'm gonna hit N. And now I'm going to export this out. As a QuickTime, use your cheat sheet, H.264, no audio we needed. And this will go into 2200, page transition, output, and I'm just going to put with title. Okay, so it's the same name as the other one, just has with title on it. And then I hit render. And now it's going to render out all of my stuff. And I made sure motion blur was on all of my things. I made sure all of my keyframes were easy eased and then animated correctly. Alright, so that's done. Now if I go to my desktop, 25, 22, page transition, output. There's my new one with my title on it. Okay, so now very easily we can see exactly what we're seeing here, so that people know this is what I'm looking at. Okay, so I'm going to take this and just copy it out of here and put that into my output for my title sequence. And I also want to then save this, then go back to my title. Okay, everything's cool here. Awesome. All right, just double checking it. Okay, so then you're going to be turning in your title bumper, this thing here, to the Z drive. Okay, so once you have your title done, then you would just drop your title bumper onto the Z drive. And for this one, we didn't have any artwork, didn't have any audio, we didn't use any movies, there's no reference. I don't need any of the previous ones, like the stuff that you didn't use in yours. So you can just delete that and then just turn in that one. Turn in this, obviously, whole folder here. Cool. So that's our title, and we'll be using those titles throughout. So every one of our assignments will go in there, and we will add this bumper to the front of each one of our assignments. And then we would just update the assignment number to whatever the next assignment is. Okay, this is actually assignment 2, so you won't actually have an assignment 2. Like number, just go from 1 to 3. And then the next one is like the thirds. Okay, we may have to move things over or whatever, but for the most part we should be good. All right, cool.